Hello everyone, it's Zahava. Welcome back to the channel. First of all, I would like to preface this video by apologizing for filming while I have a cold. And I'm really sorry about that, but even though my body is not at peak performance, my mind is still kind of reeling with a topic that I have been struggling with as of late, and that I thought I would want to discuss with you guys and see how you guys feel about it, if maybe you guys out there are feeling like me, if maybe we could possibly connect on this issue, etc., etc. So I do have my tea here, and yeah, I just wanted to sort of have a discussion. Better mute my phone. Okay. I just sort of wanted to have a discussion about audiobooks and how I feel about fiction on audio. I guess we should start with the problem and why I was inspired to sort of make this video. Now, as some of you, if you've been here before, you will know that a few weeks ago, I released a video talking about participating in the 52 Book Club weekly reading prompt challenge. And I had assigned certain books to certain categories. And then like 3 weeks later, I kind of gave up on the challenge for reasons that if you want to know what they are, you could always go back and check out my previous videos, or I'll link them down below in the description. But we're not going to cover too much about that now. We're just going to sort of go ahead and trudge forward. And one of the books that I had assigned at the time that I was eagerly participating in the challenge to one of the challenge prompts was All the Colors of the Dark. And that one was meant to be for the short chapter portion of that challenge. And I ended up getting that book on Audible because I didn't have a physical copy of it. And as I was sort of keeping track of my challenge through Storygraph, and it was one of the suggested titles that the Storygraph participants had put up on the list of suggested books for that reading prompt category, I'm like, oh, I heard good things about this book from Goodreads and Book Talk and BookTube and Bookstagram, and everyone's talking about All the Colors of the Dark. Might as well pick it up, might as well look into it. So I went ahead and bought that from Audible, and I had just finished reading also The Unmaking of June Farrow. So that was the one that I had previously listened to, and that was a magical realism book, a fantasy book, and normally would be in my I guess, like area of interest, okay? So I figured, okay, I'm not a big fan of literary fiction. I do like to expand whenever possible, and All the Colors of the Dark had an over 4-star rating on Goodreads, so I figured, okay, I'm gonna give it a shot. Anyway, download the book. And I don't know, I only know how many hours I have left before I DNF'd it. So spoiler, I DNF'd it. I couldn't finish it, but that's why we're here to discuss it today, because I'm trying to figure out the reason why I DNF'd that book. And I think there were a few points, which is what I want to discuss with you guys, because I know that when I DNF'd All the Colors of the Dark, I had about 10 hours left to go with that book. And I was thinking to myself that I probably never would have picked it up if social media had not influenced me to do that, which is kind of a scary thought if you think about it, because it's not a book that normally I would have gravitated towards. And if I did, I think I would have much rather consumed it in print. So I'm just wondering if the reason that I DNF'd this book is because I was listening to it on Audible. And I have noticed with myself that for audiobooks, for me at least, I have a very difficult time listening to fiction, anything that isn't basically a memoir or nonfiction. I have a really, really tough time listening to it. If I haven't previously read the book and it's a reread for me, or I've seen a movie and I know the story, I just can't seem to pay attention properly or figure out what's going on with the story if I'm listening to it on the audiobook version for the first time around. And I wonder if I DNF'd All the Colors of the Dark unfairly. And that's what I'm kind of having trouble deciding in my brain right now, because first of all, there were a few things about the book that did bother me. There were the short chapters, which I think were exacerbated by the fact that the book was being read to me on audio, because every 2 minutes it was chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, chapter 4, chapter 5, and on and on and on. And it was kind of like taking me out of the headspace that I needed to be in order to sort of absorb myself into the story. And also, the story was told in such a way that there were like, I don't know about you guys. I mean, if you love this book, no shade on you guys, like good for you. But I guess I, I guess it was harder for me because I was listening to it as an audiobook, knowing when the flashbacks were happening or when we were in present tense in the novel. So that was difficult for me. And I feel like if I had had the book in print version and had read it that way first, potentially it would have been easier for me. But also, I felt that, I don't know, I just didn't find the story very engaging, honestly. And I found it so confusing to read that I ended up having to actually go and look up a summary to get the story from beginning to end. I had to find like a summary on the internet to get the story from beginning to end. That just to be able to follow it as it was being read to me. And sometimes I think that audiobooks, I guess, like when I'm reading an audiobook and when I have the audio version of a book and it's being told to me as a memoir or being told to me or it's a nonfiction book, generally speaking, I absorb that a lot easier than I do fiction books, because to me, it's like I'm sitting in university, I'm sitting at a lecture, somebody's being, you know, or at like a professional talk or something where I'm not expected to sit and retain or be transported into like a storyland, so to speak. And whenever I have listened to books on Audible, such as The Live Ship Traders, when I have done like a reread of those, or when I've listened to Emma or Jane Eyre, or any of the other books that I would have had a reread and listened to on Audible that were fiction, it's because I already knew the story and I was just trying to travel back there kind of nostalgically. So I didn't really have to pay attention too much. I was able to work at the same time. I also find that like reading a book, when you're reading a book, that's the activity. That's what I'm meant to be doing. I'm flipping the pages, I'm sitting down, I'm having my tea and I'm reading. But if I'm listening to an audiobook, it's just too easy for me to want to do something else, like cook or work. Sometimes also I'll like put on an audiobook when I'm filling orders or that kind of thing. And that, of course, takes away a little bit of my attention span. So if I have to be paying attention to a fiction book that's going to be jumping back and forth in terms of timelines and things like that, I find that like really, really difficult. I find that difficult for me. And I'm not somebody that spends a long time in the bathtub or can listen to a book while I'm taking a shower. Like if I'm going to be engaged in a book, in storytelling, then I want to be engaged in that book. Like I need to focus on that book. And I don't know if I'm fairly judging All the Colors of the Dark because I can't, it's almost like I'm so confused as to whether or not I liked or didn't like the book, or if it's because of the way that I consumed the book. And I guess the best way to sort of get that sort of allegory out there, it's like if somebody boils spinach and they put spinach on a plate for you and you say to yourself, ugh, this is disgusting. I'm never eating spinach again because boiled spinach is disgusting. And if that's the only way that you've ever tasted spinach, of course you're going to say spinach is disgusting. But if somebody puts a beautiful raw spinach into like a watermelon strawberry salad with, you know, all of the good things and a beautiful raspberry vinaigrette and like you're just dressing up the spinach and it's being served or fried and served in like Thai cooking, it's going to be a whole different experience. It's going to be a whole different experience. And so my question is, did I not like the book itself? Or did I not like the way that it was presented to me through the media that I had chosen? Or did I choose a book that I never would have chosen to begin with because social media influenced me to choose that book? And then ultimately I was left feeling very disappointed. I think that, you know, audiobooks are also heavily affected. Like your enjoyment of the audiobook can also be heavily affected by the narrator. And that can either make or break the story for you. And if you have a narrator that just isn't really doing a good job or whose accent you don't like, because like it's happened to me, and I'm not going to tell you which accents and I'm not going to tell you for which books because I don't want the internet all in an uproar because of this video, but I just want to put it out there that there are so many subjective reasons why an audiobook can be ruined for you and why you might think that you don't like a particular book or think that you don't like a particular author when it's just a question of how the book had been delivered in the first place. Now, as I understand, All the Colors of the Dark is some sort of behemoth, like it's 600 pages. I'm pretty sure I would have DNF'd the book if it were in a physical print in front of me as well, because I just didn't find the story that engaging. I felt like, like I just don't know why all the chapters have to be like a page and a half. Like it seems like the author was trying to create something that just really wasn't necessary. And it felt a lot to me like shallow breathing. And that's not very nourishing. That's not very like soul nourishing or like oxygen. Like I almost felt like I was being deprived of like oxygen with the shortness of the chapters, like short breathing. So I guess this video, which probably doesn't make a lot of sense to a lot of you, is really just me having kind of like a video diary, sort of a verbal diarrhea on the internet, trying to figure out why it was that I didn't like All the Colors of the Dark, because it could have been the book itself, it could have been the writing, it could have been the narrator, the fact that I listened to it on Audible rather than having it in print. It could have been because I was influenced by a book challenge that I wasn't enjoying or didn't really think about becoming a part of. It could have been, like there's just so many reasons why it just was not a good match. And I have this topic on my mind, and it's messy because trying to figure out why something works for you and why something doesn't work for you is a messy process. And that's why people have reading journals, and that's why people have diary entries, and that's why you have book clubs, and that's why you have friends, and you guys are my friends. And that's why you have vlogs, and you try and figure it out, and you hope that, you can talk to somebody who's like you, who's had a similar experience, who can't quite put their finger on what it was that they didn't like about a certain book, and why it feels as if you've kind of failed at that. So I don't know if anything that I said today makes sense to you guys at all, but I think that going forward, what I'm going to have to do, and considering the hard time that I had listening to The Unmaking of June Farrow on Audible as well, I'm just wondering if I should stay away from fiction on Audible for the foreseeable future, or perhaps even forever, if it's my first go round of the book. I also listened to Lolita recently on Audible. It was the one that I had listened to most recently before The Unmaking of June Farrow. And even that one, I don't know. It's like I don't feel like Audible is the right place for me to have a first introduction to a work of fiction. Because it just doesn't seem to work for me. Where I do have a lot more success on this platform is with memoir and with anything that's basically nonfiction. So it could be like true crime, could be investigative, and anything that's basically nonfiction, humor, anything by Malcolm Gladwell or Mary Roach or that kind of thing. And that seems to work for me better when it's nonfiction or memoirs. So anyway, I wanted to get this sort of off my chest and talk with you guys a little bit about this topic, because it's been top of mind, and actually talking about it has been very cathartic, however messy this video has been for y'all. And if you're still here, I love you so much, because God help you all if you're still here. Like, what a mess is going on in my head. And of course, I could play it off as just my being sick today and having all this like urge to sort of get it all out. It could just be because I'm sick and I'm feeling a little under the weather, and maybe that's causing my thoughts to be a little askew. But I'm just wondering if like audiobooks are ruining fiction reading for me. And I think that they kind of are. And if somebody out there, if one of you is kind of feeling the same way, I would really love to know that. I would love to know if I'm alone. And I would love for you to know that you're not alone if you're feeling the same way that I'm feeling. So anyway, I want to thank you guys all for coming to hang out with me today and to listen to this vlog such as it is. This video is pretty much about my struggle with reading works of fiction as an audio platform or on an audio platform. And it's not meant to throw shade at any books or any authors in particular. If these books are working for you or this platform is working for you, that's great. But I just wanted to talk about the fact that it isn't working for me right now, at least. So that's my disclaimer. It's not meant to insult you if you guys like audiobooks or really liked All the Colors of the Dark. I am going to touch upon this book a little bit later when I do my December, January reading wrap-up video. But I did want to talk to you guys about this now because I'm just wondering if I gave the book a fair chance. I kind of think that I did. I kind of think that if I had it in print, I would be just as disillusioned as I feel like I am now. But I just wonder if listening to it on audio kind of helped me over that edge. Like maybe I would have stuck with it a lot longer, and to my own detriment if I had not listened to it on audio. So anyway, I guess that's going to bring us to the end of the video because now I'm just rambling and I don't want to ramble anymore. I think I've sort of gotten what I wanted to say off my chest. I don't know if I'm any closer to a conclusion, but I look forward to reading your guys' comments and seeing what you guys think about my very sort of raw and exposed thought process. And thank you guys so much for being here. You know I love you if you've stayed until the end, and I will see you again in the next video where we will talk about happier things. And until then, this is Zahava. Ciao for now.